live on. Oh, there we go. I just always have to wait till YouTube kicks in, and then as soon as I see us on YouTube, we're live. Amazing. Okay. Hi everyone. Welcome back to the Liverpool Toronto show. Now, we were due a show anyway. Obviously, it's been quite a busy month for Liverpool. It's also been quite a busy month for OLSC Toronto, LFC Toronto. And then yesterday happened, which will be, I guess, a seminal day in all of our Liverpool supporting history and records. And without further ado, I'm going to bring Dan Fernandez, the Dan Chais, into the mix as well, because we are doing, I guess, what is our first ever live reaction special. And it's all about the announcement that Jurgen Klopp will no longer be Liverpool manager after this season. First things first, let's leave Jurgen out of it. Dan, how's it going? How you doing?
Good, man. Good. How are you doing? Well, generally good, but after the news yesterday, I think just taking a pause and just recollecting on just the past 8.5 years, and it's been both obviously amazing, but also a bit melancholy as well. So I don't know about you, like how you feeling about this?
Yeah. For me, let's just get right into it. I think from my perspective, we can look at the future and talk about what's going to be coming. And I'm not somebody who's ever going to be necessarily I'm not someone who glorifies the past or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's in my own life. There's so many folks. And again, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but there's so many folks who, will talk about music or movies, and they'll talk about the good old days and the glory days and all that stuff. It's not necessarily something I prescribe towards my life. And this is something that will be really close to pushing me to reevaluating those values and thoughts, because this is huge. This is a moment where I don't necessarily know that our generation and the younger generation ever had a Shankly or Kenny moment, Shankly or Kenny moment. But if you do talk to people who have been through this before, certainly that Shankly one, and then post Hillsborough, the Kenny one, are two massive moments in Liverpool supporting culture history. And yesterday was our version of that. And my first thought is I'm still shocked, a little bit heartbroken, a little bit torn. Over to you.
Yeah, no, honestly, I think you nailed it on the head. I think the interesting thing about a lot of this stuff is that the sort of the rival fans are actually somewhat melancholy as well, which is kind of surprising. I thought just be rejoice, parties everywhere, that kind of thing. But it just speaks to the impact that Jurgen's had, Mr. Klopp, I should say, our manager, has had just in the Premier League, across England, obviously, in the world, really. I think it speaks to the character as well of the man. I think that's why, and I've watched a lot of pundits and a lot of the sort of recap YouTube shows and that kind of thing, and I think the general sentiment, if you had to boil it down, is really around, he's just a decent man. You know what I mean? He's just a decent man. So, sorry, that's my son in the background. I think he's also having a little bit of thoughts as well. But
100%.
I think all of us are really, really sad about it. But I think at the end of the day, even through the pandemic, even through, some not as tough times, obviously with Hillsborough and everything else, but just in this generation, I think he's been that figure, that sort of fatherly figure to sort of guide the club through. And a lot of the younger fans and even the older ones as well has sort of looked to him as that shining beacon for LFC. So it's been a tough period, but a period, I mean, that's basically a day and a half, but I think it'll be tough, but will also galvanize, I think, the fan base as well. So let's see how it goes.
So first things first, I guess the biggest thing is, beyond anything else, what's your thoughts on how the next few months are going to go? Because there's obviously multiple options here. The extreme on this side is the fact that this could possibly derail our season. We can talk about how likely that is, how unlikely that is, but the fact is it is a possibility. All the way over here, it is that it could turbocharge, supercharge a season that's already gathering so much momentum. I'm just going to add Jake to the stage. I've seen he's just popped on as well. Hey, Jake, how's it going?
Technical difficulties. Why can't I hear you, donkeys?
Hello.
Hold on.
We are live, Jake. Thanks for joining.
Man.
Oh, look at him. Yeah, no, just to pick up on your question though, is as like I
Hold on.
Oh, sorry. Wait, maybe hold on right here. Yeah, no, I think there's really two, maybe three paths. I think the first path, like you said, could derail us. I honestly place a lot on tomorrow's match for some reason. I know it's like a FA Cup match, it's fourth round, blah blah blah. If we don't really, but I think it's actually a big match, and the reason why is that obviously some players coming back. We've had such a great run. Now this announcement, it's almost like what's the response? And I think there's gonna be a lot of emotion tomorrow. But I feel like if we can get through that match, and yes, it's Norwich at home, and you think, okay, that's going to be pre-announcement. I would say that's like a cakewalk. With this announcement, I think it's now in the players' minds. So I feel like, I just hope it doesn't affect them negatively that way. And that's the other path, which is like, it could really go down south if it starts to just play on the minds. I got to try my best. I got to do this, like almost overdo it and force it. And try to win it for him, kind of thing. And so that's the thing that again, I think a lot of Liverpool fans probably feel. But here's where I think it will help us if we're away, especially for the away encounters, and we need to dig deep. And I know you're going to be there. And when you start saying those words at halftime, let's say at the Emirates or somewhere else, right? It's like it's a little bit extra sort of fuel, I think, for the players, and I think it's going to go a long way in that sense. Because at home, I think it's just going to be, pretty much part and parcel of how we perform in Anfield. But I feel like on the away from home, that'll really galvanize us. Sort of like, hey, this is the last run. Let's give it everything, even though that they sort of do that anyway.
So I'm going to ask you in numbers terms because I know you're a numbers guy. I know you're a data guy. So if over here is 0, it's going to derail us. Over here is 100. It's going to galvanize us. 50 is the supremely promising season we are already having. So 50 is it's not going to make a difference. We're just going as we are. 0 is it's going to completely derail us. 100 is it's going to completely galvanize us. Where are you on my random meter?
First of all, I should question that random meter being a numbers guy. I'm just joking.
Okay. No. I'm
just kidding.
Yeah.
No. I absolutely agree with you. I know, and so to your point, I think it's going to be on the 60, 70, past 50. I just can't see us suddenly losing. Like, okay, so first of all, you have to lose form, obviously passion, drive, energy, and you have Klopp there, and he's leaving, and the fans, it just now there is the other side to it, which is like the media constantly now building that narrative. Like the narrative was already building, if you really think about it, like, oh, Liverpool top of the league, in for the quad, all this kind of stuff, and it was already building. Now you layer this on, and this is like extra sort of pressure. That's the only thing that this is sort of adding to our shoulders collectively as a fan base, but also the club players, is that are you scared to make a mistake type of thing? And that's where it could maybe have an effect, but I actually think it'll be the other way around. I think it'll just give us that extra boost, when it comes to digging deep, especially away from home. So let's see. So I would say number wise, I would say probably about 73.17%. I mean, if you want to be exact, so.
Okay, sounds good. I'm just gonna unmute Jake and see if so can you hear us, Jake? And
yes,
say something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. Before we move over to Jake, I am going to just talk about something that Dan has already spoken about, which is OLSC Toronto watch party, Liverpool versus Norwich City tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. at our usual places. Go on our Instagram, Facebook to find out all the details. But yeah, tomorrow has now become even a more significant match. In already a significant match if you're trying to challenge on all fronts. But what we're really talking about today is the Jurgen Klopp reaction special. Jake, how's it going? Where are you joining us from?
Well, I am at home. I just was out with Bernard and almost dead for lunch, and I just came back to the house. This is
No
crazy.
comment.
Yes, I saw Dan and Riley for 2 seconds today. It is a whirlwind of emotion last 24 hours. Like, as I'm getting the tail end of the conversation that you're all having, and like, it feels like someone is like passing away from the family. It's just a hard premise to deal with. And of course, historically speaking, of course, the other folks have gone through this as well, right? With Shankly and Paisley and so on and so forth. But in I mean, Kenny I was younger, so it was a different kind of dynamic. But this is very impactful. And we're saying in our chat groups that, in my own personal life, the good moments that he has driven or been a part of, that I've been a part of, that he has kind of, managed, is like serious moments in my own personal life. And of course, everyone else fan in the world has gone through like Champions Leagues, highs, lows, all that kind of stuff. And just we're proud of this guy as a Liverpool fan, right? We're proud to, like, this is our leader. Like the accolades that we're getting from other folks, from other, just rival fans, rival coaches. I mean, that class exudes on so many different levels. You got the Pochettino thing, he got sacked. Klopp gave him the first call, first text, like, are you okay, mate? You're going to be good, this and that, whatever else. Like when Pep is saying the rivalry, I'll sleep better. He was my biggest rival. Of course, there's a bit of bullshit in some of that stuff as well. Don't get me wrong. However, the reality of the situation is, like, he's a powerful, impactful man that galvanized the city and the team, right? And so it feels so disheartening. Like, I just saw Bernard at lunch and we talked about it for 2 seconds, but we couldn't talk about it because of the emotional, like, states that we're in right at the moment. And to your other points, I don't care which games it are. It could be like behind closed doors. It could be like whatever. Every single match that Liverpool plays at this moment in time is the hottest ticket in the entire planet. Just to be in that stadium again, to see him coach us, like, for the next like few months.
But that's the thing that's really interesting with this story, right? Like it's not just a Liverpool story or a Premier League story or even football story. Like, funny enough, like, this is like made the world like sort of trends, news, like the New York Times are writing about this in beyond just a sports, like a sporting context. Like, he is a global icon. As much as, I know, like, Liverpool fans like to big up our players, our staff, all that kind of stuff, but Jurgen Klopp is an actual legend of the game. It's not like he's just one of the, he'll be a manager to just skip on to other things. I mean, he's an iconic, legendary manager. I think, like, but not just manager, he's also like a football person, and then he's also like a global icon. Like, people around the world who follow football, which there's a lot of people around the world who follow football, know Liverpool, obviously, but then they also know Jurgen Klopp and his management style. And just as you said, Jake, like, I think a lot of fans who aren't necessarily Liverpool fans still give him the sort of like his flowers on a human level. And that's like really rare to see that, like, because there's always that tribalism that sort of creeps in. And if you've watched any of the other sort of pundits or just the recaps or tributes and all that stuff, it's really around that. It's like, yeah, he's a Liverpool coach, and if I was a Liverpool fan, but even if I wasn't, as a human being, he's just a good dude, And so I think that's the thing that's really resonating with a lot of people beyond just Liverpool and the Premier League.
Sorry, go on, Jake.
No, this, like, to that point, like, when I was at the gym this morning, and something that you said in one of the chats, Azaz, was like resonating with me as well as like what he must have gone through to have that conversation, right? On that point, he knows the fan base worldwide. He knows all of those details, and just to be like, he wasn't tearing up. Of course, he was kind of like, you could feel some of that, but he's got to go through that and have that conversation and know the impact of every word that comes out of his mouth at that moment in time. And then so to some of his verbiage talking about like the balance of I'm exhausted, right? And then it got me to think about the mental health plus your physical health and just the impacts of your day-to-day job, just generally speaking, not just for him, for everybody. And I got me thinking quite a bit this morning when I was like working out, that like, he's one of our gods, let's say, but he's actually a normal human being that goes through this. He's got a family, he's got a wife, he's got this, he goes through the same things that we do. And so I couldn't stop thinking about it. When I was on the treadmill this morning about like just the mental state of people in general, right? And it just was something that I was thinking about this morning.
The one thing we did miss out as well is what he is in terms of like a business leadership icon as well. So you talked about the Liverpool icon. You talked about just the fact that he's an icon in general in culture, pop culture, the way football transcends sport. Like it's interesting because here in North America, obviously we're OLSC Toronto, sports are competing with like 4 or 5 different sports. Around the world, like football is religion, but it's also culture. Football culture is embedded in a lot of people's daily, weekly practices and routines, and just the way they bond, the way they break bread. There's so many elements of that. But then the other part is in the business school leadership world, Jurgen Klopp is seen as an icon and as an innovator as well. And I've had 2 personal experiences of this, one at work and then one more on the professional development side. So not really work, but still in a professional setting where Jurgen Klopp just popped up and at this point, both of the examples I'm talking about, we hadn't won anything yet. So he joins us in October 2015. What I'm talking about is like 2017 and 2018, the 2 examples. So one of them, I'm at a company retreat, and they're doing like the power of a video on the power of leadership as part of like the culture of our company. And like they're going through like political leaders and business leaders and all this stuff. And then randomly Lallana like runs over and Klopp gives him like a huge hug. And there were people like next to me who were just like, did you see that kind of thing? And then I inquired, like, who put this video together? And it was like a person with no interest in football. Amazing. And like very little interest even in sport. And then I want to say like that's September. So 7 months later, what was also really interesting was I'm at another like event. This is not a work event. And these people have no idea that anybody in this small group of 12 is a Liverpool fan. And they're like, I want to talk about this person called Jurgen Klopp. He's a soccer coach. You probably don't know him, but you should research him. You should research his leadership style, his communication style. And at this point, I didn't know anybody in this like group. We had just like met, and this was part of like the icebreaker. And I was just sitting there, and we hadn't won anything at this point, like nothing, and like that element of like he's going to go down history as like an all-time leader, an all-time communicator, an all-time icon in those fields as well. And that is something that is so special that he was ours, and we're going to share him. Obviously, Dortmund still adore him.
Oh, of course.
Like, Dortmund don't think he's ours, yes. Dortmund thinks he's theirs.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Did you
can share him.
Did you find, sorry, and that's a great thing to share, sorry, like his house as well, okay? But did you find during his pre-recorded video, obviously to the fans and obviously the club and all that, but then also at the news conference, I think you would just mention that, Jakers, as like just like how he was tired, right? Like, so that was the main reason, the energy thing. But it almost felt like, and in that press conference, felt more devoid of emotion, like his usual emotion into stuff. And maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into this, but it almost feels like he's almost disappointed that he can't continue on himself. Like it's not just like, yeah, he's out of energy, I'm done, and like, okay, it's relief and all that. But it's almost like he feels like I can, but I can't give it what I could before. And it's like now it's like, and he said it a few times. He said, I can't give just 50%. Like I owe it to this club to give like 100 of what my energy is. And what's sort of crazy, if you contrast where we're going to go with this new vacancy now in summer, is that, I've been reading a lot of social media and all this kind of stuff, thinking about who's the next replacement and all that. But and I think it was Neil Atkinson from the This Is Anfield,
Anfield,
who made the good point of, do we necessarily want a Klopp too?
No.
Like basically the same thing, but envisioned with another person. And it's like, you almost have to, as hard as it sounds, and yes, with the players that we have and the style we play, you almost have to make that detachment at some point and entrust that new person and let them be who they are. And that, at the end of the day, that's very hard to do, especially when you come from a Jurgen Klopp. But at the same time, in order to see success and all that kind of stuff, and it's probably what Jurgen really would want, is to make that clean break and move over. But it's going to be hard, right? It's going to be hard doing that in the summer. And after that last match, hopefully the Europa League final.
That's what there's. I was watching again. I don't know. I've watched so much crap in the last couple of days, and it's hard. But they were also talking about Alonso, and Alonso being one of the natural, succession people. Of course, I don't know. There's clauses and whatever else. Who knows what's real and what's bullshit, whatever else. It's fine. But to your point, Dan, they're talking about Klopp went from rock and roll football and heavy metal football from that standpoint at the beginning of his tenure with us. Fine, when he got the team going at tenure, but then he's adjusted from that perspective. Right? It's like heavy metal when it needs to be. It's not when it's not, and he's adjusted from that standpoint. Then you have Xabi Alonso who's doing well in Leverkusen. He doesn't have a lot of tenure, which is an issue on its own, right? And it's his demeanor. It's completely a different approach to Klopp, right? And so I'm not saying he's not empathetic. I'm not saying he doesn't have those qualities, but the personalities are slightly different. Xabi's a little more reserved from Klopp from that standpoint. But I noticed other people, I think with Sky and somebody else, a couple of people were saying to that, we've had this for 10 years. Should we try something different just to kind of continue the evolution of the team? They've already gone that. They know how to go that way. Let's try some new things, a new style, new this, whatever else. And so it's interesting to see in the end who they will pick. And of course, if they've been talking about it from November, then, they've had some discussion somewhere.
It begs the question, and I've been thinking about this as well. It's consumed all of our minds, I think, right? I mean, it's just like, do you necessarily make that move for Xabi Alonso right now, or right now as in the summer, or do you give it almost like an Eddie Howe type of Newcastle thing, which is try out your best? Well, maybe not the best, because he may not even be available, right? With Leverkusen potentially winning the league. And his contract there, and maybe even just his own readiness. Maybe it is give Xabi Alonso a little bit more time to sort of reap in the accolades from winning a league, going back and then thinking about potentially the following year, and maybe giving someone more Premier League ready. I know De Zerbi's the main guy, but I actually like Thomas Frank quite a lot. I think from a man management standpoint, I think that's the biggest need. It's not even the skill and the tactics. Yeah, there's tactics and everything else, and he's also a pretty good manager there. But I feel that man management, motivational sort of guy.
It looks like we lost Dan for a second.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So just to go back to Xabi for a minute, there's so many different ways to answer this and analyze this. So first things first, different doesn't necessarily mean worse or not better. Now, the question as Liverpool fans is, the void that we cannot fill is that communicator, that man that Jurgen Klopp is. There is actually nothing saying that we can't be better on the pitch with somebody else, to be honest with you. That's just the way it is, because we've seen it before. And the first things first, the clearest example is Shankly to Paisley. Paisley swept everything before him when it came to trophies. So even the Liverpool version of this is we can actually go to the next level on the pitch, which is the biggest thing we want, is more trophies. It's been wonderful having an iconic manager. I don't want him to go. I still want him to change his mind. But the thing is, the next level of where we can go to has a big element of we can actually be better. We can actually win more. And lots of teams have won and continue to win trophies without Jurgen Klopp as their manager. The next example I can think of more than anything is Barcelona, when they moved from Rijkaard to Guardiola. So Guardiola had no professional experience. He was on Barcelona B, right? And I don't care what any especially our big rivals fans who hate on Man City, and people just hate on Man City anyway, which is a different conversation. But the truth of the matter is, the Barcelona that Guardiola inherits in 2008 is broken. It's a broken Barcelona team. Within 1 month of the season starting, he turns it around and they go and win the treble. Now, he made Messi the focal point. He got rid of Ronaldinho. He got rid of Deco. He's the one who did all of those things. So different doesn't necessarily mean worse on the pitch. I think where we need to temper our expectations above anything else is we're not going to have the things we spoke about, which is like the leader, the icon, the business guy, the leadership guru. Like, that isn't going to happen again, particularly with Xabi Alonso, for example, who is my favorite. Like, that's like, he is everything I would want, because there is more untapped potential on the pitch that we could get, because Xabi Alonso completed football. He literally won every single trophy. And the Cruyff and Guardiola and Zidane technique of, like, most star players don't make it in management, but the ones that do make it to the very, very, very top. And we can talk about Zidane not being proven. I get that. I know one of our own community, Liam, has those reservations, and he can. It's fine. He's not proven it long term, but Cruyff did. Guardiola did. There are people who were world-class players, like Xabi Alonso was. They completed football as a player, and then they completed football as a manager. The people who do that are on another level. Now, that is the dream that I would rather buy into immediately, because the fact that he's done the Leverkusen thing, whatever happens there, he's 7 points clear, Bayern have a game in hand, so he's not won the league there yet. But what the people say about him, what the fans say about him, and what the journalists say about him, that is something we can get behind, because somehow, somewhere, there is an opportunity to go, you know, like Kenny did it. So Kenny up till 87 has like Joe Fagan and everyone's team. And then in 87, Rush goes, Barnes, Beardsley, and Aldridge come in, and Ray Houghton. And he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to go like sexier football. We do have an opportunity to do that. You know, like if you look at Klopp 1.0 to Klopp 2.0, it's brilliant to watch. We love it, but it's still built on emotion. It's not built on aesthetics. We are beautiful to watch as well, but primarily it's momentum, it's passion, it's Trent and Curtis and the Scousers, and we love Mo. And so there is and there is a place we can go. So on that level, I would, if he's I'm not going to say if he's available, because we are Liverpool football
tapping. I'm not trying to tap anyone.
We are monsters.
He didn't shut it down, right?
Yeah.
He didn't.
He's not going to.
Like,
he's not going to.
Now that's a direct question. It's like there are going to be way more direct questions coming, and anyway.
Very much so. Okay, before I do anything else, I am going to once again plug tomorrow. So I'm guessing that all games at Anfield are going to now be a really hot ticket, but also all games at Anfield North, as we call ourselves, are also going to be hot tickets. So get there early, avoid disappointment. Sly Fox in Burlington, breakfast is served. Elephant and Castle, we will have our red brekkie. So that's that one. Next one, just as a reminder, in case anybody forgot, Liverpool, top of the league. So league leaders entertaining Norwich City tomorrow. A couple more shout outs, just bear with me. Wednesday is a huge day as we go back to the Premier League. We're going to be playing in the Carabao Cup final, now that we know as well. And this game is actually going to be at Anfield after the first game of the season was at Chelsea. Seems like a lifetime ago now, that game in August. But
crazy.
That's that. And obviously we'll talk about this in next week's show. Hopefully we'll record one. But if not, just in case, we do have a OLSC Toronto Red Day next week as well, which is Arsenal versus Liverpool. Kickoff at 11:30. check our socials for all the details. But at Elephant and Castle, it will be wristbands and the whole shebang. So you're going to have to get there early. Sultan's already lining up. So we got to make that cool.
Sultan, yeah.
I think with that, guys, I think we can almost wrap things up. I feel like I'm just going to give you both a little bit of like final words on yesterday, and then a few words on tomorrow, and then we'll go from there.
I think from my standpoint, a few things of contention that need to be. I don't even know how the players will feel and how the players do feel right now. So I know Virgil stated something the other day, we're going to make the rest of the season special and all that kind of stuff. And I get the fact that like when you've been recruited now, McAllister, Cody to a certain degree, like Endo to a certain degree, like Gravenberch and Szoboszlai, they came here to play under this mofo, right? They came here to play under him, and now they're like, holy shit, he's going now. So now it's a whole different kind of mindset. They're not professionals, all that kind of stuff. That's that aspect. Then you have, the love and we have breath for Mo and just all that whole situation of that, which is very interesting. The inter-stories of all that kind of stuff with respect to that. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm gutted for sure. We'll see. I'm sure there'll be a lot of tears tomorrow at the pub. So with that said, Norwich, we've got some games to play. We've got some, we'll all be together tomorrow. I'm not sure what team he's going to put out tomorrow. That's going to be an interesting one for sure, because we do play midweek from that standpoint. So who will play? I don't even know at this point in time who's coming off of injury or what. Does Robbo get a run out? Like, I'm not sure. Does he wait till Chelsea? Like, from that standpoint, who does get a run out? But it's going to be interesting to see which team he fields for the Sunday versus the Wednesday match. But the greatest thing is, apart from this Klopp news, we are top of the league. We're in 4 competitions, and as a fan, that is all I can ask for. It's lovely to be in this spot, and it just we're just happy to the cows come home. I just love it. Daniel, son?
Yeah. No, I so just looking back, I think just the other thing that sort of sticks out is just the timing of it. I think a lot's been made out of that as well. Was it the right time to make this announcement? There's some rumors of it could have possibly leaked, and it'd rather come through Klopp's words first to the fans and blah blah blah. All that, like, I actually think there's no real good time for that. Like, whether that's after the season or even the preseason that we had as well. So I think it just goes back to the man himself. He's just an honest man, and he just wants to be as honest as possible to who he obviously cares very, very dearly for, and that's Liverpool fans and like the club, the city. And so I think that sort of should answer that question about timing. I think looking forward to the match tomorrow, initially I was just thinking, because we were talking about, like, before you joined, Jake, it was just around which path could this team take now? Could it go down that path of whatever, right? And so I'm actually fearing for like Norwich tomorrow. Like I if just thinking about what that atmosphere is going to be like before kickoff, it's going to be super emotional, and I could totally see Liverpool come out like 2017-18, all guns a blazing, like 3-4 early.
Is Suarez around? Is Suarez?
Yeah, Suarez, or just like just an absolute barrage. Like Bobby, Mane, Salah, like that style of swashbuckling play, because there's going to be so much emotion around it. And the other thought too is that there's a lot of matches coming really, really quick, and I didn't realize, it just dawned on me now that Arsenal's basically a week away, which is crazy. So that's like, this is it. Like this is game face game time right now. So strap up, guys. Strap up.
Strap up, son. Strap up. Zazu, you're on mute, bro. Mute.
You're on mute, my man.
The last thing I would say about the next 3 games is, I've heard quite a few people say this is the last chance we've got to rotate tomorrow. I don't think so. No. February's dead. Like, it's like 3 after this, like after this 8 days, well, 7 days, because we're playing Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday. There's 3 more games in February. Like, that's it. So we can go full pelt in the 3 games. I don't think he will. Like, I do think we'll make changes tomorrow, especially considering the Fulham game on Wednesday just gone, when, all the way, like, it wasn't secure. It wasn't like we were 4-0 up and started to make changes on that accord. So, yes, we will make some changes tomorrow, but we actually don't need to, because
No.
after the other game, it starts to become like weeks between matches. There is a midweek FA Cup. The next FA Cup round is going to be like midweek somewhere, so we'll add another one there. But especially if we get a favorable draw there, that could also change that. So on one hand, I'm like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but if we are fearing anything, then we should just literally go as strong as possible. Dan, you were going to say something?
Yeah, no. I was just going to say one quick thing that I don't know, just to answer Jake's question, which is around which lineup and who's coming back. Robbo is one thing, but I mean, Thiago apparently has been training. There's been some Trent's training. It's not like it's Sobo as well. So it's going to be almost like an embarrassment of riches, especially with the younger lads in there as well. And do you necessarily drop them tomorrow? Is it maybe those who played the full 90, midweek. But I mean, other than that, maybe it's a good time to give Robbo a nice run again against an Norwich City at home. Anyway, but that's the magic of Jurgen this season is also his substitutions and everything else, and that's to his credit as well. He's sort of upped his game when it comes to that. So anyway, just looking forward to it, and yeah, it's going to be emotional.
Let's sign up with a score prediction for tomorrow in Chelsea, because we won't probably speak before then.
I think it's a 3-0 tomorrow for us. Chelsea, I think it could be a 2-1 match.
So we concede against Chelsea. Interesting. Dan?
Yeah, I think tomorrow is absolute blitz. It's 5-0. I'm not even going to be maybe even more, but we could be wasteful like usual and not score. But so 4 or 5-0, something like that. And then Chelsea will be interesting, because I feel some of that emotion and the high after that and the low, maybe just after that match. I think we'll be a tighter game. It always is, sort of versus them. But I still fancy us, and that's for me a 2-0. I still think we keep a clean sheet against them. We're just the best D in the league right now, knock on wood.
Yeah, I'm going to go 4-0 tomorrow and 1-0 on Wednesday. I think Wednesday will be nervy. But yeah, like Dan, I don't see them. This is just a prediction. I don't see them scoring past the way Ibu and Virgil are playing in the back. It's they struggle against bad defense. Chelsea are nowhere near as bad of a team up to the final third as their position makes out to be. There's
and
different.
They've been playing better.
There's different kind of 8th, 9th places. There's some that are really lucky. There's some that are really unlucky. Chelsea's play up till the final third is really not that bad. I mean, I would say not even the final third. Chelsea's play all the way to somebody putting it in the net is actually if you've not seen them, if you think they're just crap. And I said, there are some crap teams who are in and around Chelsea, who are on roughly the same points, who are just lucky. They win with pens and stuff like that. That's not been Chelsea's reality this season. But how would that suddenly change at Anfield with the emotion of everything from yesterday? And I don't see it personally. So 4-0, 1-0, 2 wins. Join us tomorrow. And of course, join us on Wednesday. It's going to be a big one. Feels weird saying this, but I'm going to say it as much as possible. Dr. Klopp's got appointments for Wednesday, so maybe it'll still be Dr. Klopp. Maybe next season it'll still
we'll
be
just keep it.
Klopp.
Keep it.
The senior advisor.
Senior, senior. At least for next season, we'll keep it as Dr. Klopp. Okay, that's been decided. Have a great day, fellas. Have a great weekend. I guess I'm seeing you both in 18, 19 hours. So all the best till then, and speak to you soon.
Up the Reds.
Up the Reds.